my yard is now certified as wildlife habitat. Bumblebees, fig beetles, I've seen hummingbirds, some butterflies. It's just great to see them in the garden. I'm going to be discussing why I think it's important to certify a yard. In addition, I'll be reviewing the 6 essential elements that I had to address to certify this garden. In 2024, there were 332 million visitors to national parks. I suspect there were a lot more to local and state parks. We are drawn to nature. It's interesting society accepts us creating a hostile environment for wildlife and nature around our homes. While this statement may be upsetting, I suspect most people do not understand what a negative impact their current yard management practices have on wildlife. Unfortunately, I was also one of these people up until just a few years ago. So I got some free coffee grounds that I'm going to dig into this area just to add some additional organic material. So once I understood the negative impact I was having, I made a few simple changes. And when I saw the overwhelmingly positive response from wildlife, it supercharged my desire to do more. Sharing knowledge and helping people realize they can have a significant positive impact on nature and wildlife is my main purpose in retirement, and I find it very rewarding work. I feel it's important to add some context to that statement. The coffee in this dirt smells delicious. We all take actions at times in different facets of our lives to improve things for ourselves and others. And in most cases, we don't have full visibility of the impact of our actions. And this goes far beyond just gardening. I've come to accept the fact that I'm not going to understand what I do and the full impact. And I hope that you take away that as you take actions to improve the lives for others, your impact is far greater than you will ever understand and know. I believe we all want to have a positive impact, but we also want it to be meaningful and significant. Here's another Texas rock rose that's seeded down, which I'll get to transplant. Most of us are not famous, super rich, or have access to large audiences which we could use to influence the future. Yes, individually we may have small voices, take action, and struggle to see change. So if you get discouraged, as I sometimes do, remember the positive actions you take, along with others, are creating a cultural wave of change which will have a positive impact for wildlife in the future. I originally had installed Japanese jasmine as a border to give the garden purpose. Unfortunately, it's constantly growing into the garden and it grows over into the street, so it looks messy all the time, and I'm gonna remove it. I'm always amazed when I meet people how many have their own passion and quietly work to make the world better in the area of their passion. I recently met Matt, who volunteers at the Houston Food Bank, and also picks up trash and litter just on his own so that people can enjoy the environment, whether they're walking, bike riding, or even driving a car, and can focus on the beauty of the trees and the flowers and the birds versus the garbage we tend to see a lot of places. There are numerous organizations which are trying to educate people and help them understand that they can have a positive impact for wildlife around their home. I belong to two of these groups on Facebook. We are the ARC and Homegrown National Park. So in most cases, you can apply for a sign to put in your yard to help people understand why your yard doesn't conform to the norms of turf grass and a few flower beds with non-native plants. In addition, it lets them know that you're supporting wildlife in your area. I was distracted by Jim that just drove by and waved. I got distracted today by the garden. I was hoping to get a lot more videoing done, but I started to see the garden come back to life. The bees, bumblebees, butterflies, caterpillars, lizards, they're all starting to return to the garden, and it was just a lot of fun to watch. I love the morning when it's quiet. Oh, there's a hummingbird at the red yucca. There's my camera when you need it. So as I did research on the different organizations that support people giving land back to Mother Nature, I was really intrigued by the National Wildlife Federation's program. As I mentioned, it's got 6 different categories, very robust. And as I read through it, I was like, boy, I think this is for a much bigger piece of property than just a suburban yard. So, as you know, I like a challenge, so I was like, I'm going to try to certify based on this program. I was surprised to learn what a suburban yard can mean for wildlife. I'm hoping as I share what I learned, one of the components will speak to you, and you'll add an additional component for wildlife in the land around your home. So what did it take to meet the National Wildlife Federation requirements for certification? I'll include a copy of the checklist in the comments section of this channel. In addition, you can go to the National Wildlife Federation website and you'll find the checklist there also. So why certify or have a sign in your yard? Obviously, rewilded yards look different. It's important people know that this is intentional and that it has purpose. By having a sign, it lets you have those conversations with people to say, I've done this to support wildlife in our local area. And that's important. Maybe it's your yard that helps somebody understand that their yard can have purpose and that it's not just about having a neat, optically pleasing yard to themselves, although I think a yard can have purpose and be beautiful at the same time. So the first requirement is to have a minimum of 70% of your plants be native. And this is much more difficult to obtain than you may think. Right here I have Texas rock rose, goldenrod, American beautyberry, Turk's cap, Greg's mistflower, and frog fruit. Second on the list is adding 3 natural food sources for wildlife. This is frostweed. It's already starting to go to seed, and I've seen birds come and land on here and eat the seeds off this plant. So many of the flowers in the garden are past their prime. This is goldenrod, and it hasn't flowered yet, but when it does, it'll be covered with bees and other pollinators collecting nectar and pollen, another food source for wildlife. Leaf litter is an amazing substance that we take for granted. I actually started using it because it was a free mulch, but many insects eat leaf litter as a food source. The reason native plants are so important is the leaves are food for caterpillars, both moths and butterflies. Many people get upset when they see that an insect has been eating the leaves of their plants, but that's actually an indication of a healthy environment. An additional category of food is nuts and berries. I planted this oak tree about 25 years ago, and it wasn't as tall as this fence. It now provides large quantities of acorns every fall for I was fortunate. When we moved in, there was these 3 hickory trees that generate these nuts, which I know the squirrels eat because I always find them opened up and the insides eaten. So this American beautyberry, I didn't plant it. It's seeded down from someplace. It's been here for a couple years. And I think it got just the right amount of rain because it's generated more berries than I've ever seen. They're full and they're just spectacular looking. So this is another free plant. It's seeded down. It's native pokeweed, and this is the berries that it generates that I know the birds love to eat. As I went through this exercise of explaining to you all the different food sources in this garden, it was kind of shocking to me just actually how much food is available to wildlife in this small little garden. So as the insects eat the plants, the insects become food for other wildlife. So water access is critical for wildlife. And while I built this pondless stream, it doesn't need to be that complex. A simple bird bath, a bowl, a pond, as long as wildlife can access the water safely, get a drink, maybe bathe, and then get back out, that's all that's necessary. But it is a key component to getting certification. As we review the remaining habitat essentials, you'll notice that many components meet multiple needs for wildlife and nature. Number 4 is cover. I think of this as places that wildlife lives or can rest. This may be as simple as dense vegetation for wildlife to hide in. Mature trees provide a place for many animals to build a nest, not just birds. Rock piles and rock walls provide many places for wildlife to have a home or hide. As summer comes to an end and fall arrives, many plants will die back to the ground, they'll lose their leaves, but they'll leave a stem, which is a critical habitat for wildlife. So many insects will look at this stem, they'll come over, drill a little hole, go inside and deposit eggs, which will winter over, and then in the spring they'll hatch and emerge. So I'm going to talk about 2 habitats here. I've got some additional logs that I've just piled up here. I actually have one behind me too, just as additional habitat. And then if you notice, I have some stems here. These are from last year. I felt the pressure to cut down some stems and neaten up the garden, but instead of disposing of them, I brought them in here and stood them up using the logs kind of to support them. And this allows those insects that are in those stems a chance to winter over and come out in the spring. So number 5 is having places for wildlife to raise their young. It may be a host plant like butterfly weed or milkweed for monarch butterflies. It may be stems that winter over young. It may be leaf litter, mature trees, and so I added 6 bird houses to my yard. This bluebird house was used 4 times by a pair of bluebirds to raise young, which was really exciting to watch. The other houses were not used, and birds can be a little particular about a location of their nest, so I'm going to move those around to see if I can find a more appealing location. Number 6 is sustainable practices. So this section includes conservation of soil and water. So I do have the drip irrigation in still, but what I found is as you plant native plants, your water needs basically go to 0. In addition, the leaf litter I've been using is actually growing the level of topsoil in the garden. Removal of non-native plants may not seem like a sustainability issue, but it is. This is a non-native plant, it's Pittosporum. It doesn't flower, so it provides no nectar. It does stay green all year, so it does provide some cover. But insects can't eat these leaves. They haven't adapted with this plant. So the value that this plant brings versus a native plant is just a fraction, and therefore the environment is not near as robust because of this plant. Pollution. I don't think enough people understand that if they're spraying or spreading some type of granular on their yard, including fertilizer, it's a chemical. I don't use any of these. They're not necessary and they cost a ton of money. In addition, I think some of these have significant risk and have a huge negative impact on wildlife and nature. There are so many ways to support wildlife. I'm hoping that one of the changes I made spoke to you and encourages you to make a similar change. Maybe when you make enough changes, you can certify the land around your home. I'm hoping this small sign helps communicate the needs of wildlife to have more space around our homes. Till the next time we're together, continue to look for ways to support wildlife around your home. And while it may be challenging, I hope you find your own voice in support of nature and help neighbors understand our yards can have a much greater purpose. Take care.